One of those projects is the 1970 Western film Two Mules for Sister Sarah, a movie Eastwood still refuses to watch despite its popularity and box office success. Known for popularizing the spaghetti western genre, westerns typically filmed in Italy or Spain by European directors, Eastwood also took part in films heavily inspired by the genre, such as Two Mules for Sister Sarah. The movie tells the story of Hogan, a former Northern soldier played by Eastwood, who joins forces with a mysterious nun named Sister Sarah, portrayed by Shirley Mlan. Unbeknownst to him, Sister Sarah is aiding rebel forces fighting Emperor Maximilian in Mexico. Hogan ends up protecting her from pursuing French soldiers as they cross the harsh Mexican desert. Directed by Don Siegel, the film was shot entirely in Mexico over a period of 2 months and became a commercial success. However, not everyone involved in the film held it in high regard. In fact, both Eastwood and director Don Siegel were reportedly dissatisfied with how the movie turned out. According to Judith M. Cass's dual biography, Hollywood Professionals, Siegel had to shoot as much material as possible in just 65 days, fearing that producer Marty Rakin would recut the film and force them to reshoot scenes due to a lack of usable footage. To prevent this, Siegel brought in veteran cinematographer Gabriel Figueroa to help film efficiently under tight constraints. Shooting in Mexico presented its own set of challenges. The location, far removed from the more familiar Hollywood sets, was tough on both cast and crew. Ironically, the choice of location was initially made to accommodate actress Elizabeth Taylor, who was originally cast as Sister Sarah. Though she never appeared in the film, her influence on the production was significant. Taylor had handed the script to Eastwood while visiting the set of Where Eagles Dare, where Eastwood was working alongside her then-husband, Richard Burton. She agreed to do the film only if it was shot near Burton, who was filming Raid on Ramel in San Felipe, Mexico. The producers agreed and plans were set in motion to film there. Unfortunately, Taylor eventually dropped out of the project for personal reasons, leaving the production without a lead actress. Universal Pictures quickly stepped in and cast Shirley Mlan, who was gaining attention for her role in the upcoming musical Sweet Charity. The studio hoped to use Mlan's rising popularity to promote both films simultaneously. Eastwood later recalled the experience, saying, "Elizabeth Taylor and I wanted to do it together, and the studio approved the combination, but she didn't want to work unless it coincided with Richard's working." Though Two Mules for Sister Sarah went on to become a financial success, Eastwood and several others involved in the film remained unhappy with how it all came together. It stands as a curious chapter in Eastwood's legendary career, one that he still prefers not to revisit. Clint Eastwood once reflected on the troubled production of Two Mules for Sister Sarah, recalling how the team had originally planned to shoot in Mexico to accommodate Richard Burton, who was filming nearby. Eastwood explained that everything had been lined up with Elizabeth Taylor slated to play Sister Sarah. But things began to unravel when Taylor dropped out. With her exit, the studio shifted its attention to Shirley Mlan, mainly because of the high expectations surrounding her upcoming film, Sweet Charity. However, casting Mlan required script adjustments and, according to Eastwood, stretched the imagination, especially since the character of Sister Sarah was supposed to be Mexican. Mlan, with her distinctly fair features, didn't fit that description. Eastwood even noted that Sophia Loren might have been a better fit, though ultimately he felt a Mexican actress should have been cast in the first place. This casting decision is one of the reasons Eastwood has refused to watch the film despite its commercial success. He considered it one of his lesser works. Interestingly, he isn't alone in that opinion. Director Don Siegel also shared frustrations during the shoot. Mlan herself found the production difficult and her relationship with Siegel was strained, so much so that tensions between them became an open secret on set. Siegel bluntly commented that Mlan was too unfeminine and hard, highlighting the lack of warmth he felt toward her. The remote filming location didn't help matters. The set was close to the southern U.S. border, far from any major city, which meant delays in sending film footage back to California for processing. Mlan also had aesthetic complaints. She disliked the heavy false eyelashes her character had to wear. But since she was portraying a prostitute disguised as a nun, she eventually went along with the look to maintain consistency. Despite the rocky production, Mlan did have a few kind words for Eastwood. At a TCM Film Festival Q&A, she described him as unintentionally funny and charming in his own quiet way. She recounted a moment during filming when his horse misbehaved, and Eastwood, ever the stoic, simply got off and punched it. An oddly memorable gesture that she quipped made her realize he was a true Republican. Two Mules for Sister Sarah performed moderately well at the box office and avoided being labeled a disaster. But Eastwood has another film in his past that he does consider cursed, the 1984 action comedy City Heat, co-starring Burt Reynolds and directed by Richard Benjamin. The project had a rocky start. Blake Edwards, who wrote the script and was initially set to direct, was fired before production began. Though some of his work remained under the pseudonym Sam O. Brown, Edwards later described the experience as horrendous. Things only got worse on set. During a fight scene, Burt Reynolds was struck in the face with a metal chair, breaking his jaw. Determined not to delay production, Reynolds chose to power through with the help of painkillers. Unfortunately, the decision led to a severe addiction that spiraled into a coma and nearly cost him his life. All of this hardship, however, didn't translate into cinematic success. Take Men in Black for example. The roles of Agents J and K are now synonymous with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. But few know that Clint Eastwood was originally Sony's top choice for Agent K. Given his reputation for playing stoic, no-nonsense characters like Dirty Harry, Eastwood would have fit the role well. However, director Barry Sonnenfeld was set on casting Tommy Lee Jones instead. Eastwood eventually declined the role, which turned out to be a fortunate decision, as the chemistry between Smith and Jones was a major factor in the film's success. Their dynamic not only launched a popular franchise, but even led to an animated series. Eastwood also declined a role in Once Upon a Time in the West, a film perfectly suited to his Western legacy. Directed by Sergio Leone, a frequent collaborator of Eastwood's, the film was a classic spaghetti western, his specialty. Leone wanted Eastwood to play harmonica, a key character, but Eastwood passed. Charles Bronson was cast instead. Leone didn't give up easily. He offered Eastwood the role of one of harmonica's attackers, but the actor declined again. Another surprising pass was the lead role in Die Hard. Long before Bruce Willis made the character of John Mlan famous, the film was originally titled Nothing Lasts Forever, and Eastwood actually owned the rights. At one point, Frank Sinatra was even considered for the role as a continuation of his character from The Detective. But when Sinatra stepped away, Eastwood was approached and declined. He reportedly didn't understand the humor of the script, something director John McTiernan found puzzling. He wasn't alone. Several other A-listers, including Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mel Gibson, Sylvester Stallone, and Richard Gere, also passed. In the end, the role went to Bruce Willis, and it became his breakout moment. Eastwood was also offered a part in Apocalypse Now, one of the most grueling and critically acclaimed films of the 1970s. Although he spent nearly 16 weeks in the Philippines during early production discussions, Eastwood turned down the role of Captain Benjamin Willard, saying he didn't quite understand the film. The part eventually went to Martin Sheen, and Eastwood never fully disclosed his reasons for walking away, adding an air of mystery to the missed opportunity. Another almost role was none other than James Bond. After Sean Connery stepped down, Clint Eastwood was one of the actors considered to fill the tuxedo. Despite being offered a hefty paycheck, Eastwood turned it down. He felt it wasn't his place as an American to take on a role so rooted in British culture, saying the character belonged to someone else. When it came to playing Superman, Eastwood's name also made the short list. Director Richard Donner was determined to find the perfect actor for the part, and Eastwood, being a longtime comic book fan, was a serious candidate. However, he declined once again, not too keen on the idea of wearing a skin-tight suit and leaping across skyscrapers. Christopher Reeve would eventually take the mantle and define the role for generations. Out of all the offers Eastwood rejected, one of the most notable wasn't a film role, but an endorsement deal. In the late 1970s, several major tobacco companies reportedly approached him with a $5 million offer for a campaign that would include commercials, print ads, and billboards. Eastwood turned it down without hesitation. Years later, he revealed